Report finds that more young adults are feeling anxious and depressed at twice the rate of teens. So this morning, we have our 9 News parenting expert, Dr. Sheryl Ziegler, joining us now. Good morning, Dr. Ziegler. We just saw a little preview of your face right there.
Yeah, you did.
Wanted to show it up a little bit early, yeah? Thanks for being with us. This is important. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so what are the findings in the report?
Yeah, so, they're not great. What happened was, it was a great idea in terms they did a national sample, and they looked at young adults and teens. And what they found was that even though teens do still have very high levels of depression and anxiety and hopelessness, that young adults, so that's 18 to 24, they had double the rate. We're over half. We're like, in some measures, 56% of the respondents said they were feeling hopeless about the future, and they're in the 30s, about 36% saying that they experienced depression or anxiety over the last year. So this is highly alarming.
Are we talking about young adults as a whole? Are there any specific groups that might experience something a little bit more?
Yeah, unfortunately, like it tends to be groups that are disadvantaged, Black and brown communities, as well as lower socioeconomic status. They seem to fare even more poorly. Again, probably because of access to mental health resources. And so we really, though, this is still a broad sample, and I want people to understand that we are talking about college-age students who are newly graduated high school, students who are going into the world, who are really feeling very down about the climate, about wars, about just their community, and they're not looking to the older people before them for solutions.
I think this is so interesting because when you think about rates for depression and anxiety, I think teens come to mind first, but this is just showing a different trend.
Absolutely, and what is concerning for me, this was like a Gen Z study, but Gen Z goes all the way down to like 10 years old.
Exactly.
So this is the generation. So what I'm worried about is I'm worried about them, and then I'm worried that the generation as a whole, if we don't change things pretty dramatically, they're going to trend in the same kind of direction. This is, at this rate, this is not sustainable to have a society at large that when we're talking at 1 in 3 people having depression or anxiety, we're at about, in general, 1 in 5. 1 in 3, that's not a way to build things. That's not a way to health, and so it's really a concerning study.
You know, Gen Z, though, they're a generation of very smart, intelligent young people, and they're aware of therapy and other mental health resources. You know, more so than Gen Xers, let's say, for example. Yep. Where do we begin to help them out if they're already aware of some of these resources and it seems that they're still struggling?
Yeah, it was interesting. The first thing, and I alluded to it before, is they, I think, have got to get with each other. They, again, don't look to whether it's politicians or people who are just older than them, really being able to help them. They just see us as kind of ruining the world, and they have to come up with solutions. So I think gathering with people their own age, getting involved around solution focused. So opposed to problem focused, really solution focused. Parents also need to stop being so overly involved. And I've said this a million times on here, but if we keep doing for our kids, then our kids become young adults and they can't do for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a really big one for parents.
You know, it's funny, I was just talking to my mom about this the other day because I had to kind of, set a boundary with her as well. And she said, I think I did so much for my kids because I didn't have parents who did a lot for me. And so that just, you kind of want to correct it for the next generation. And unfortunately, it seems like maybe we've overcorrected a little bit.
Exactly, the overcorrection. And it's not just like my opinion about parenting or something, right? Like, oh, that's not good. It really is actually what the data shows. The data shows that kids really need to become competent. They need to be not independent, like go do it on your own, just competent. We can be there to support them to come up with their own solutions.
Right.
And there really is a distinction there.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to help, but in the end, you're doing more harm than good.
Yes.
Yeah, and thinking about your 2 young kids at home.
And it's hard. It's hard as a parent, right, to kind of like let them fall, try to let them fly. You're there to back them up.
Yeah, or sometimes you go, I'll just do it myself because it's faster and easier, right? And that seems little, like when they're 5. Right. And you're, oh, let me tie your shoelaces. I could just do this fast. We got to go. But all of those things really add up. We need to have the patience to go, oh, it didn't work that first time. It's okay, try again.
Yeah.
Right, and it's so subtle, but we have now this 18 to 24-year-olds to look at. This is what the outcome is if we don't make some corrections and changes now.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredibly enlightening. We appreciate you being here, Dr. Ziegler. Thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.